so many histories. Each history with its own vroom, 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 vroom. And from each history, the world looks different. Even the words, the combinations of words, the words that come from here, or from here, or from here. Or from the birds. There are words from the birds. Crows talk. Crows say, hey, hello, where are you? Hi. Come here, let's go this way. It's raining. How beautiful you look. My babies are there. Let's fly. Let's go back to the big trees. Let's go back to the big trees. And the snake. Snakes had legs at one time. They evolved to lose their legs. Histories. And the bad times, the history of the bad times.
You know, there have not been a war in Sweden in 200 years. Actually, 1 year more than 2,000 years. No, 200 years. I am so impressed by that. I think in Sweden, they're so used to not having war that they didn't even notice it was 200 years 1 year ago. They didn't even celebrate it. And I tried to let in what that could be like. In the cafeteria of the museum today, even the colors of the sky looked like they have a different kind of consciousness from not knowing war for so long. I thought that if somebody is 100 years old, 103 years old, like my grandfather was going to be in a few days.
He's going to be 103.
103 years
still
old.
alive?
Yeah. Alive and kicking.
What's his name?
Moshe.
Oh.
But you see, I calculated that if somebody lives in Sweden and there are 103, their grandparents do not remember war.
That's a blessing.
Of course. It's like it's something different in a human being altogether.
And I thought that war was really in ourselves, but maybe it's not.
So they said, what I understood, I learned all this in the last few days. So what I understood that when Norwegian wanted to be free, Sweden said, okay.
You know what I never...
No, wait.
What
Okay.
I never understood is if someone wants to go out, why doesn't the country say, okay?
Because it's mine.
I know, but it's yours, you can have it. I want to go out. And how come you don't let me go?
But you're mine too.
I guess.
So my grandfather was born in Germany. He just managed to catch the First World War. Then the Second World War. Then he was in Palestine by that time.
My father fought in the First World War. He was up in a balloon, in a free floating, and he said that you could hear every sheep below going meh. All the sheep, you could see them and you could hear them. But the balloons were getting shot down, so he refused to go up again. They could have shot him for that, but they just put him in jail. And he watched the flies that would go like this, and then they would go like this.
Like what?
The flies would go like this, and then they go like this. Flies do that. And they were his friends when he was in military prison.
Oh, you gotta have friends everywhere. So since then, my grandfather was in the Israel Independence War, and then in the war in 1956, and then in the war in 1967, and then in the war in 1973. I was already there too. Then there was a war in Lebanon in 1982.
Your
That
father
was a war that came from Iran, all the way from
these
Iran.
wars, he was in all these wars, your father?
Yeah, me too. All the way from Iraq. I mean, can you imagine? I forgot. There was also in between the Palestinian uprising, the first Intifada, 88. That's when we first
That's when we met. And we put a lot of potatoes on the ground. And I said to you, Batyah, what's happening?
Right. And you said, how come they're always throwing stones?
And you said, the Golan Heights, and you went like this. And I remembered how I saw it on the map, it's flat. But when you look up, it's different.
And the Dead Sea.
And then you said, and then we could go there, and we went there.
Right.
I don't know where.
The territories. That territories. Jerusalem.
This
city.
is a wonderful.
Nablus, the Wailing Wall.
This is a wonderful stage because you can run. You can run on this stage.
Well, where do you get when you run?
What?
Where do you get to when you run?
What?
Where do you get to when you run?
You get to feel good.
You get to run.
You get to run. When a bull runs, his body gets long.
Careful
A
of
bull,
potatoes.
his body gets long when he runs. A bull, his body gets long. And you have to go like this to get out of his way. Boom, he goes.
You know, the Assyrian kings in Nineveh in Iraq, they had been fighting the lions.
Yeah. And there's that picture of probably Gilgamesh that's holding a little lion like this.
It's a bearded, imagine I'm a bearded hero. Very well stylized.
With a little bit of a smile.
Thick beard. And it's so well, like you even can see the muscles in the legs.
Yes, but the feet, yes, are like that. And the little lion is...
The little lion is very little and is not touching the ground. It's just that I'm not tall enough.
And the little lion looks happy.
Well, it looks surrendered.
It looks like a little lion cub that you hold.
Well, I guess the role of the lion there is to show how brave the hero is.
I know, but the story from the point of view of the lion might be different.
It could. I was so touched by the photo of you with the lion yesterday. There is this in the gallery, in that show at Index. There's this beautiful photo of Simone, beautiful looking, 33 years old, short black hair, skirt and sandals, petting a lion cub. That lion looked really happy to me. But the Assyrians, that's about 3,000 years ago, they would kill lions with an arrow or with a huge stick. A little bit like the bull hunt, like the bull fighters. And the carvings of these walls, they were in the palaces. And I saw them actually a couple of months ago in London. In what used to be...
You know, one time, Florence dammed up the Arno River.
Which river?
The Arno that goes through Florence.
Oh, Arno.
And they dammed it up, and Pisa is downriver from Florence. And then they let the river open up all at once, and they flooded Pisa. Even today, the people of Pisa hate Florence. I have a friend who's a journalist, and she was supposed to write about an art event from Florence to get people from Pisa to come. But no one from Pisa would go because they hate Florence. And they don't give a you-know-what about what the artists in Florence are doing. And nobody would go to see. And the water went boom, 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 boom. And it went all the way to Pisa, and it flooded the city, and it made a mess. Because that's what the city-states were doing until they became countries. When Italy became a country, then it was ready to, for instance, join Germany. And then the two countries could.
So what do you think makes countries join each other at a certain point instead of shooting at each other?
Sometimes there's not enough potatoes.
Or an earthquake.
Or what?
Or an earthquake. Earthquake.
or a drought.
Or a third enemy.
Yeah, but what makes the third enemy?
Belief. That you are right.
But you know, this Gilgamesh with the little lion, this Mr. Gilgamesh with the little lion, one of the interpretations of the cuneiform writing that I read, that Gilgamesh said to his heart friend Enkidu, he said, "I'm such a good fighter, let's go conquer something." And Enkidu said, "No, we don't have to." Yes, because I'm such a good fighter. Let's go conquer. And they decided, okay, that one over there looks like that one's ripe to be conquered. That one is ripe to be conquered. And then, so they went and conquered, but they got a little scratch somewhere.
A little what?
A little scratch somewhere. And that little scratch, that was nothing at first, got very bad. Slowly.
The scratch?
Yes, the scratch.
What was it?
Well, it was many things. One, it was that a dragon dragged a tail and made a scratch. Another was that they opened the big gate and the gate made a scratch. And the scratch got worse and worse. And then they have to face death. Then they hated that the dear friend died. Not only the dear friend died, but that meant that he was going to one day die too, and that was very hard to face.
That we are all going to die. You know, meanwhile, the world today is making me really sad. Just seeing all these people walking, losing their lives, their home,
because the wars in the country where what do you call a country that invades another country and puts it under control so that then they can take from that the good things that are colonial. The colonials made countries.
Right, just kind of on paper. Like, if you make it on paper, it works, right?
The colonials made countries, and now the countries are breaking up. And petroleum.
But don't you think it's not just, I think that all these lines that are between people, countries, this is Germany, this is France.
And petroleum.
This is Israel, this is Palestine. This is Iraq, this is Iran. What is this?
Petroleum. Petroleum is organic material that pulls blood down to itself. Where there's petroleum underneath, there's blood on top. You suck the petroleum up. Let's do some movement without speaking.
That's what I'm doing. You know, 27 years ago, when we did this together, it seemed a little simpler.
Well, we made mash. We made mash with the potatoes.
It seemed a little simpler. There was
The world seemed simpler?
Yeah, there was Israel, there were Palestinians, there was America, and there was Russia. Remember? And we tried to, so why don't they talk to each other?
Was that the Iran-Iraq war?
No, it was before. That was 1988. That was the first Intifada.
But when was the Iran-Iraq war?
91. 3 years later. It was kind of the first time that the Palestinians were really like throwing stones and rebelling and throwing stones and rebelling. And Rabin said, break their bones. Remember?
Not like you, I don't.
And there were going to be elections in America and in Israel. And we said, if just going to be this kind of government in Israel and this kind of government in America, maybe we can sort it out. Some much more complicated now.
We could make a wall.
Between what and what?
Well, I don't know, people make walls.
Between Muslims and Muslims, between Jews and Jews,
between Mexicans and American Mexicans,
and white-skinned people and black-skinned people. I think people lost it. But from the beginning of time. Do you know when the first peace treaty was signed, Simone? Ever?
what?
Do you know when was the first peace treaty signed? Ever? The first peace treaty. Do you know when it was?
The first what?
Peace treaty. Peace agreement.
Oh,
Peace agreement.
that was the Iroquois Nation.
The what?
The Iroquois Nation.
When was that?
I don't know, but the American Constitution is very influenced by the Iroquois Nation's Constitution and peace agreement between all those original nations on that continent.
So the first documented treaty is between the Egyptian, Pharaoh, and the Hittite king.
In one of those nations, the men made the decisions, but the women chose which men would make the decisions. But that didn't get into the American Constitution.
It's like that thing that this Palestinian person told me one day. He said, you know, the head of the family is the man, of course, but the woman is the neck.
The Magna Carta. I don't know much about it, but I should. I know a little bit about the Constitution, but nothing in the Magna Carta. But I remember that first time that we worked together, and I was saying how important the Constitution was, and you said Israel could never have a Constitution.
No, because of religion. Because according to the religion, there is already a constitution, a Jewish one.
Yeah, but in America there's so many different religions that it's the Constitution that gives the sense of us, that we are us, that we are us, and we want to be well. We want to be able to raise our children, and we want to be well. And who are we? Because always you look after us, and either you don't worry about them or you fight them. But in America, the us, at least that's it. But I mean, you know, if you're white, it's very different.
So do you feel us in America?
Yeah,
Do you feel, oh no, you do?
I do.
Wow, that's a nice thing.
I do. I mean, I did a piece recently where I washed the flag in the Mississippi River because it needed some washing. But